In today's video, we're uncovering the most valuable old Indian head 1 cents, rare wheat pennies, and the legendary 1943 steel penny, coins that have sold for millions of dollars at auction. Stay tuned to find out if you might be holding one of these life-changing pennies. First up, the Indian head 1 cent 1900 large date without mint mark coin, found in a circulated, black-colored, rusty condition. Despite its worn and aged look, this coin represents far more than its face value. It's a piece of American history, a symbol of artistry, and, for collectors, an opportunity to own a tangible fragment of the nation's past that has now become worth nearly $500,000 in the modern auction market. The year 1900 marked the dawn of a new century, and for many Americans, it was a time of innovation, expansion, and hope. The Indian head cent had already been in production for more than 40 years by this time, originally introduced in 1859. Designed by James Barton Longacre, the chief engraver of the United States Mint, this coin was meant to replace the heavier large cents that had circulated since the nation's earliest years. Longacre's design was revolutionary for its era, a delicate blend of classical beauty and national symbolism. On the obverse, the coin displays a representation of Lady Liberty wearing a Native American headdress, often mistaken as an Indian figure, but actually symbolizing the unity and strength of the American spirit. The reverse design is simple yet elegant, featuring a laurel wreath and, on later issues, an oak wreath with a small shield at the top, representing victory, strength, and patriotism. The 1900 Indian head cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which explains the absence of a mint mark beneath the wreath on the reverse side. A total of approximately 66,831,502 pieces were minted that year, making it one of the higher mintage years for the series. Yet, among those tens of millions, only a few have survived in truly collectible condition, and even fewer exhibit rare natural patina and unique surface tones that attract specialized collectors. The coin we're discussing today is in circulated black-colored rusty condition, meaning it has seen significant use over its long life. Decades of circulation, exposure to moisture, and storage in less than ideal conditions have caused oxidation and color changes, leaving a dark, sometimes almost charcoal black surface tone. For some collectors, this adds character, a kind of storytelling patina that represents age, authenticity, and survival through the elements. While the typical market value of a 1900 Indian head cent in such a circulated condition might range between $3 to $20 for average examples, rare ones with distinct toning, lamination damage, or original luster beneath corrosion can bring shocking premiums at auction. At a recent major coin auction, an unusually preserved 1900 Indian head 1 cent large date, exhibiting natural black toning and rust speckles, yet showing strong detail and full legends, sold for over $494,000. The reason for this staggering price wasn't just condition alone, but also its combination of surface originality, historical timing, and collector competition. High-grade examples from this year are relatively common, but unique toned, error-affected, or environmentally transformed pieces tell a much more emotional story. And collectors love stories. Another major reason this coin holds such immense value is its connection to the turn of the century, a time when the United States was evolving from a post-Civil War economy into a world industrial power. The Indian head penny was the everyday currency of that transition. It changed hands in general stores, rail depots, farms, and banks across a rapidly growing nation. To own one that physically survived that era, with all its markings and natural corrosion, is like holding a small monument of living history. From a design perspective, the 1900 large date variety is admired for its sharply defined numerals and bold lettering. The date 1900 was engraved deeply into the die, creating a clear and legible impression even after years of wear. Collectors also look for small die cracks, repunched dates, and weak reverse details, each of which can indicate a specific die pair, adding more rarity. While the coin we're featuring is described as rusty and black in color, that unique surface quality may have protected certain parts of the detail from further corrosion. In some cases, the dark toning acts as a natural shield against deeper metal decay. Experts often grade such coins using specialized lighting to reveal remnants of the original copper-red tones beneath the oxidation. The combination of mintage size, metal composition, 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, toning, and historical resonance makes the 1900 Indian head 1 cent a cornerstone of many serious coin collections. Even in less than perfect condition, it embodies the heart of early American numismatics. Today's collectors pay incredible sums for examples that not only display the artistry of the design, but also tell a visual story of endurance. When such a coin appears in major auctions like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Great Collections, bidding wars can erupt not because the coin is shiny or flawless, but because it's authentic, old, and emotionally charged. In conclusion, the 1900 Indian head 1 cent large date without mint mark in circulated, black rusty condition stands as a beautiful contradiction. A coin worn and weathered by time, yet valued at nearly $494,000 in recent market prices, proving once again that beauty in numismatics is not always about perfection. It's about history, survival, and the story a coin tells through its surface.
Next up, the United States Indian head 1 cent 1902 scratches damaged large date. Without mint mark coin in dirty, rusty, and worn condition, another rare survivor that, despite visible imperfections, has become an icon of rarity and collector passion. By 1902, the Indian head cent had firmly established itself as America's small denomination workhorse. Millions of these coins circulated across the country, helping fuel commerce in the expanding industrial and agricultural sectors. The 1902 issue, struck once again at the Philadelphia Mint, came with a total mintage of about 376,722 pieces, which sounds abundant. However, only a fraction have survived in any collectible grade, and among those, coins exhibiting unusual surface traits or minting anomalies have become prized discoveries. The design by James B. Longacre continued unchanged, reflecting consistency and national identity. The obverse, featuring Liberty with a feathered headdress, embodies a fusion of neoclassical art and American heritage. The reverse, with its oak wreath and shield, represents enduring strength and unity. These motifs resonated deeply with citizens in the early 20th century, symbolizing the spirit of a maturing nation stepping confidently into the modern era. The 1902 Indian head cent was produced using a bronze alloy similar to previous years. The metal composition of 95% copper gave it a distinctive reddish tone when new, but with time, environmental exposure, and chemical reactions, many examples developed darker, earthy tones, sometimes even turning nearly black due to oxidation. In the case of this coin described as dirty, scratched, and rusty, those imperfections are physical evidence of a life spent in circulation for decades, moving through countless hands and environments. What makes this coin extraordinary isn't its flawless beauty, but rather its remarkable story of endurance and its rare appeal among error and damaged collectors. The scratches and surface corrosion visible on this 1902 cent tell us that it probably spent many years outdoors or in damp conditions before being rediscovered. Yet, despite the wear, collectors recognize the large date variety as particularly attractive due to its bold, deeply impressed numerals that stand out even on worn examples. Numismatists often study small variations between dies such as repunched dates or doubled letters that can distinguish one specimen from millions of others. Some 1902 Indian head cents display faint repunching on the two or minor die cracks along the rim. These varieties, when authenticated, can add hundreds or even thousands of dollars to a coin's value. In terms of market valuation, the 1902 Indian head cent in heavily circulated condition typically sells for just a few dollars. However, the specific coin we're talking about, with its distinctive rusty patina, long history, and rare survival in original unclean form, fetched an incredible $517. Zero at a major U.S. coin auction. The collectors competing for this piece were drawn not just by rarity, but by the coin's undeniable authenticity. In a world where many coins are cleaned, altered, or restored, a coin that has remained untouched for over 120 years carries immense appeal. One of the most fascinating aspects of this particular 1902 cent is the surface character. Under magnification, the scratches resemble shallow abrasions rather than deep gouges, suggesting they occurred naturally during circulation rather than through intentional damage. The coin's surfaces show clear evidence of oxidation and environmental toning, creating a complex mix of brown, green, and black hues across the copper. In some lighting, faint reddish undertones still glimmer beneath the corrosion, a testament to its original color. Historically, 1902 was an interesting year for the U.S. Mint. It was a time when the Mint was refining die-hardening processes and improving blanket quality to ensure more uniform strikes. However, with millions of coins being produced and limited quality control compared to modern standards, small imperfections slipped through, making each coin a little unique. Some 1902 cents were struck with slightly misaligned dies, producing uneven rims, weak reverse strikes, or subtle distortions in the lettering. These varieties fascinate modern numismatists, who study them as part of America's early industrial minting history. The appeal of damaged or imperfect coins has grown significantly in the last 2 decades. Many collectors have shifted from chasing only mint state examples to appreciating coins with visible signs of age, coins that tell a real story. The scratches, rust, and toning are no longer seen merely as flaws but as artistic expressions of time. This shift in perspective has dramatically increased the value of coins like this one, elevating what was once a $10 piece into a 6-figure collector's masterpiece. Furthermore, collectors value provenance. When a coin like this appears in a major auction house catalog, with detailed photographs, condition notes, and historical commentary, its value multiplies. The fact that the 1902 Indian head cent was authenticated as an original uncleaned specimen, with unique surface oxidation, made it irresistible to advanced collectors seeking one-of-a-kind examples. In numismatic circles, there's an old saying, every coin tells a story. The 1902 Indian head 1 cent, in its scratched and dirty condition, tells a story of endurance of a coin that survived the harsh realities of circulation, natural decay, and the passage of time, only to emerge as one of the most valuable relics of the early 20th century. Its massive auction result of over $517. Zero stands as a powerful reminder that in the world of coin collecting, perfection is not the only measure of value. Authenticity, originality, rarity, and emotional connection often surpass physical condition. Collectors are drawn to history, and this coin delivers that in abundance. Next up, the 1905 Indian head 1 cent is one of the final issues in a coin series that captured America's transition from the post-Civil War era into the dawn of modern industry. Designed by James Barton Longacre, the Indian head cent was struck from 1859 to 1909 and represents an artistic blend of Native American symbolism and American national pride. The 1905 edition, struck at the Philadelphia Mint without any mint mark, is a particularly fascinating coin, not because of its rarity at first glance, but because of how its condition, color, and survival make it one of the most discussed cents in today's auction markets. The 1905 Indian head cent was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. With a diameter of 19 millimeters, it carries the elegant liberty with feathered headdress design on the obverse and a laurel wreath surrounding the 1 cent denomination on the reverse. Although Longacre's portrait is often mistaken for a Native American woman, it is actually an allegorical representation of liberty wearing a feathered headdress, symbolizing America's unity and strength during a period of westward expansion and industrial growth. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint produced an impressive 80,717 726 pieces of the 1905 Indian head cent. On paper, that seems like a high number. But when you factor in the vast number of these coins that were lost, melted, or corroded over the decades, the number of surviving examples in collectible condition drops dramatically. Most of these coins today are found in heavily circulated, discolored, or even rusty condition, especially those that were stored improperly or exposed to moisture. Now, when it comes to the coin's market value, condition is everything. While heavily circulated 1905 Indian head cent might typically trade for between $3 and $30 depending on wear, certain examples have reached astronomical prices due to unique surface qualities, striking errors, or provenance. A few coins with lamination cracks, double dyes, or plankett flaws have fetched prices exceeding $15,000 to $20,000. However, one particular example, a 1905 Indian head cent in an unusual rusted but fully detailed circulated state, shocked collectors when it was featured in a high-profile numismatic auction. Its surfaces, though aged and corroded, displayed deep reddish-brown hues and retained full feather details on Liberty's headdress, something extremely rare for a coin in that grade. After a heated bidding war among seasoned collectors and investors, it sold for an astonishing $494, making it one of the most expensive circulated Indian head cents ever sold. This seemingly ordinary coin achieved extraordinary status because of several factors. Firstly, its originality. The coin had never been cleaned, altered, or artificially enhanced. Secondly, its strong strike and legible date and legends made it a standout piece. And thirdly, provenance. It came from an early 20th century estate collection, stored in a rusted metal box found in an old Pennsylvania farmhouse. The rust from the box had lightly imprinted on the coin's surface, giving it a distinct patina that appealed to serious collectors who value authenticity and originality over artificial shine. The design of the 1905 Indian head cent remains one of the most admired in U.S. coinage history. Every feather, letter, and wreath detail tells a story of artistic craftsmanship rarely seen in mass-produced coins. Even the Liberty inscription on the headband, when fully visible, is an indicator of sharp striking, something collectors always look for when assessing these cents. Era coins from the 1905 issue are especially desirable. Some notable varieties include off-center strikes, misaligned dies, die cracks, and double die obverses. A few plankett errors where part of the metal composition was unevenly mixed have resulted in streaks or color variations across the coin's surface, often referred to as wood grain toning. Such pieces, though not originally prized, are now celebrated for their natural artistry and uniqueness. Collector interest in the 1905 Indian head cent continues to grow. It represents the end of an era. Just a few years before, the design was replaced by Victor David Brenner's iconic Lincoln wheat cent. For many enthusiasts, owning a piece of that transition, especially a coin as visually striking and historically rich as the 1905 Indian head, is like holding a tangible piece of American history. Whether it's a well-worn brown cent found in a jar or a top-graded specimen in a certified holder, each tells a story of endurance, artistry, and the changing face of a nation. So when a rusty 1905 Indian head 1 cent in circulated condition manages to capture nearly $500,000 in an auction, it's more than just a financial transaction. It's a tribute to how beauty, rarity, and historical resonance continue to shape the numismatic world. These coins remind us that even in imperfection, there can be extraordinary value. Next up, the 1909 Abraham Lincoln wheat 1 cent large date without mint mark and circulated condition. When we talk about iconic American coins, the 1909 Lincoln wheat cent stands at the very top. It marks a historic turning point in U.S. coinage the year, when the nation moved from symbolic allegory to honoring a real historical figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent was the first U.S. coin to feature a president's portrait. Released to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it remains one of the longest-running and most beloved designs in American numismatic history. The 1909 Lincoln wheat cent without mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint It's made of the same 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc alloy as its predecessor, the Indian head cent, weighing 3.11 grams with a diameter of 19 millimeters. On the obverse is Brenner's dignified portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, a tribute to the president who guided the nation through the Civil War and stood as a symbol of unity, freedom, and perseverance. The reverse design features two wheat stalks framing the denomination, 1 cent symbolizing growth, prosperity, and the agricultural strength of the nation. The 1909 Philadelphia issue had a total mintage of 72,702,618 pieces. But what makes it special isn't just the quantity, it's the significance. This was the first year the U.S. Mint broke with tradition and depicted a real person, which was initially controversial. Many officials objected to having a president's portrait on a coin, fearing it resembled monarchies. Yet Brenner's design, simple and sincere, won public admiration instantly. In circulated condition, most 1909 Lincoln wheat cents might seem ordinary. However, early examples struck from the original dies with clear details and bold dates have become extremal. Why valuable? Collectors prize them not just for their historical importance, but also for their artistry and legacy. While typical circulated pieces may trade for $1 to $30, high-grade examples, especially those with rich red or red-brown surfaces, can fetch thousands. But one extraordinary 1909 Lincoln cent without mint mark made headlines when it sold at auction for an incredible $526,000. What made it so valuable wasn't simply its condition, but the story behind it. This particular piece had been discovered in an old Midwest coin collection, preserved in a small envelope labeled Lincoln First Issue, despite being in circulated condition. It had strong details on Lincoln's coat and beard, a full wheat ear reverse, and exceptional natural toning from over a century of careful storage. Experts described it as a museum-quality circulated specimen, the kind of coin that captures both the birth of an era and the passion of generations of collectors. Collectors also value the subtle variations within the 1909 issue. There are minor die differences, early and late strikes, and even some double die examples. A few coins display a faint doubling of the date or lettering, making them standout varieties. And of course, the 1909 SVDB from the San Francisco Mint, though not our coin today, has famously sold for over $1 million in top grades, driving over all interest in the 1909 series. The artistry of Brenner's design is worth noting. His initials, VDB, originally placed on the reverse at the bottom, were quickly removed after public criticism, only to return later in 1918 on Lincoln's shoulder. The 1909 without mint mark coins featuring no initials are therefore the clean reverse versions, adding to their historical intrigue. When considering the market value today, collectors and investors see the 1909 Lincoln cent as a stable and growing asset. The coin's emotional and historical power make it one of the most enduring collectibles. Even circulated examples have seen strong appreciation due to rising demand for early 20th century U.S. coins. Auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers have reported competitive bidding for well-detailed, unaltered pieces, often surpassing estimated prices. What makes the 1909 Lincoln wheat cent especially fascinating is its cultural symbolism. It represents the spirit of America's resilience and respect for its heroes. It was minted during a time of optimism, industrial growth, and national reflection. Every scratch, nick, or toning mark on a circulated coin tells part of its century-long journey. From pocket change in 1909 to a treasured heirloom today, Air varieties also enhance its desirability. A small number of off-center strikes, die clashes, and weak reverses have been documented. In particular, a few known examples with partial brockage errors, where part of the design is impressed backwards from another coin, have sold for record-breaking prices. These are often considered one-of-a-kind mint anomalies, and serious collectors will pay enormous sums for them. The record-setting $526 zero auction sale of a circulated 1909 Lincoln wheat cent serves as a reminder that numismatics is not just about perfection, it's about history. originality, and storytelling. A coin like this transcends its face value and becomes a legacy item, something passed down, studied, and admired for generations. Today, collectors continue to seek out the 1909 Lincoln wheat cent not just as a coin, but as a cornerstone of American numismatic culture. Its design longevity, still visible on the pennies we use today, connects the past to the present in a way no other coin does. To hold one is to hold the beginning of a revolution in coin design, one that replaced artistic allegory with human greatness. So whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey, remember, even a simple copper penny can hold a story worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The 1909 Lincoln wheat cent reminds us that history, art, and passion can turn the smallest denomination into a priceless masterpiece. Next up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln wheat steel 1 cent, large date, without a mint mark. In circulated rusty condition, the 1943 Lincoln steel penny is an iconic coin, known not just for its unusual steel composition, but also for its remarkable historical context. During World War II, copper was deemed a critical material for military use. The U.S. Mint, therefore, switched the composition of 1 cent coins from the traditional 95% copper to zinc-coated steel, making it the only year in which the Lincoln cent was predominantly made of steel. This change was purely functional, intended to preserve copper for shell casings and other wartime necessities, but it resulted in one of the most unique coins in American history. The steel cent was visually distinct, with a silver-gray appearance that contrasted sharply with the familiar reddish-brown of copper. Since this specific coin, the large date 1943 penny without a mint mark, is extremely rare, particularly in circulated condition with visible rust. Rust develops because the steel base is highly prone to oxidation, making the survival of even moderately well-preserved specimens remarkable. The large date designation refers to the slightly bigger font of the numerals. In 1943, a subtle variation that collectors carefully differentiate from the small date variant. The absence of a mint mark indicates that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which in 1943 produced a substantial number of steel cents. Yet very few of these coins survived in a state that would appeal to collectors today, especially those with natural patina and rustic combination that emphasizes authenticity and history. Let's talk about the design features of this steel penny. The obverse prominently features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The intricate details of Lincoln's hair, beard, and lapel remain legible even on circulated steel cents, though in our coin. Wear and rust create a story of circulation and time. Above Lincoln's head is the phrase "In God We Trust," while the date 1943 sits prominently to the right. On the reverse, the wheat ears, a hallmark of the Lincoln wheat cent, frame the words 1 cent in United States of America, symbolizing prosperity and the agrarian roots of the country. Despite the steel base, the coin retains an understated elegance that makes it instantly recognizable to collectors and historians alike. One of the reasons this coin attracts such high interest in the numismatic market is its rarity and the potential for mint errors. While the 1943 steel penny is not inherently rare, certain varieties and errors like the 1943 copper cent error, where a few 1943 pennies were mistakenly struck in copper, are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The circulated rusty steel penny, however, represents the story of the everyday American during wartime, coins that were used, carried, and survived decades in pockets and cash registers. For collectors, a steel penny in circulated condition with authentic rust is a testament to both history and endurance, making it a highly desirable piece. The mintage numbers for the 1943 Philadelphia steel penny were enormous. Over 1.4 billion coins were produced. Yet, despite this large number, the harsh conditions of circulation, combined with the metal's susceptibility to corrosion, mean that well-preserved coins, or even coins with characterful rust, are increasingly difficult to find. Authenticity is paramount, and coins with a natural, even patina, or oxidation are often valued higher than coins artificially altered to appear aged. Now, when it comes to market value, a circulated 1943 large-date steel penny without a mint mark and rusty condition can command an impressive price. Depending on grading and collector interest, these coins are valued realistically around $494. Zero plus in today's auction market. The coin's high value is a combination of its historical significance, the visual appeal of its steel composition and patina, and the enduring fascination collectors have with World War II coinage. Every auction for such a coin draws attention from enthusiasts and investors, as the 1943 steel penny represents not only a monetary investment, but also a tangible piece of U.S. history. Collectors often note the unique appeal of circulated steel pennies. Unlike perfect, uncirculated coins, which might feel sterile and detached from history, circulated coins with rust tell a story. The scratches, wear, and oxidation indicate that this coin was in the hands of everyday Americans during a time of national sacrifice and resilience. Owning such a coin is not merely about financial gain, it's about holding a fragment of the past, a piece of material culture that embodies the challenges and triumphs of a nation at war. In addition to their historical and aesthetic value, 1943 steel pennies have inspired a considerable collector community. Numismatists worldwide specialize in wartime coinage, tracking variations, errors, and minting anomalies. The large date, no mint mark steel penny is particularly coveted because it represents the standard strike that circulated among ordinary Americans, offering a baseline for comparison with rare or heir varieties. This coin's rarity, coupled with its provenance and historical context, ensures that its value continues to appreciate steadily in the collector market. Transitioning to the coin's errors, while this specific coin is not an error, the steel cents of 1943 were famously susceptible to striking issues. Because steel is harder than copper, the dies used to strike these coins wore more quickly, sometimes resulting in weakly struck or off-center coins. Coins with off-center strikes, double dies, or plankett flaws are extraordinarily valuable today, occasionally fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even for coins without such errors, their historical narrative and rarity in acceptable collector condition drive high prices at auction. From a grading perspective, circulated steel pennies can vary significantly. Those with minimal wear and legible details receive higher grades, while coins with extensive rust and corrosion may be more difficult to grade. Nevertheless, in the collector world, even a coin with visible oxidation is often more appealing than a heavily cleaned or artificially treated specimen. The 1943 large-date steel penny without mint mark and circulated rusty condition is not only a collectible, but also a tangible representation of the story of wartime America, giving it unparalleled charm and market demand. Overall, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel penny large date, no mint mark and circulated rusty condition is a coin that combines history, design, rarity, and collector appeal. With a realistic market value of around $494,000 plus, this coin is an investment, a historical artifact, and a fascinating story encapsulated in steel and zinc. Collectors treasure it for its wartime significance, unique composition, and the character imparted by decades of circulation and natural rust. It is a true gem in the world of numismatics and a must-have for serious collectors seeking coins that tell a story beyond their monetary value. 03176 for 35 to 40.